The big prize. It's just so damn close now. The Edmonton Oilers will attempt to do what no Canadian team has done in 3 decades: win a Stanley Cup. On enemy ice, the Florida Panthers.
Let's go, Oilers! Woo! Let's go, baby!
It's surreal, man. I can't believe it.
I'm so happy. I want a Stanley Cup this year.
So when I Google Canada's team and eventually stumble across this, that's the Florida Panthers logo, by the way, I'm left wondering, is this just some epic troll, or is this no joke at all?
Are you guys Oilers fans?
No, I'm not. Yeah, kind of.
You're not.
Kind of.
No, you're not.
Okay, sure, no.
Would you find yourself cheering for the Edmonton Oilers so a Canadian team would win the Cup?
No.
No way.
No way. Not a chance.
No?
On this question, which team is Canada's team? Sports shows are arguing about it.
This is a hot debate amongst, the internet.
Boston Pizza has poured good money into it.
Let's cheer with the fans we've always cheered against.
As much as we like to think that hockey unifies Canadians, it really doesn't.
So let's figure this out, starting with the more difficult question. Then we'll get to the easier one. If you want to understand how little love there is for the Oilers in some parts, just ask a sports writer who covers the Vancouver Canucks.
Bounce it wide. The Edmonton Oilers are headed to Dallas for the Western Conference Final. What a furious finish.
Best way to describe it is, if you look at West Side Story between the Jets and the Sharks.
Easy action.
Except in the end, nobody really gets along.
That series between the Oilers and the Canucks, that went to a Game 7. And the way Adam Kurzenblatt tells it,
Edmonton Oiler fans continually trying to dunk on Canuck fans throughout the Western Conference Final.
Say Oilers and 5. Say Oilers and 5.
Which kind of brought Canuck fans out and said, okay, if you want to play this game, then we're going to cheer for Dallas, and now we're going to cheer for Florida in the Stanley Cup final. People don't like each other on both sides.
Fuck the Oilers! Say it one more time! Fuck the Oilers!
and it's not just Canucks fans that have beef with Edmonton. What's the opposite of a love triangle? A hate triangle. Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary are a hate triangle.
I think geography plays a huge part in rivalries. And that doesn't go just for sports, that's everywhere. And if you have two fairly large cities in fairly close proximity, they're going to have a natural rivalry.
I can't tell you how many Calgarians I've talked to that all of a sudden are Florida Panthers fans. They cannot stand the idea of the Edmonton Oilers winning the Stanley Cup.
And even those teams that don't rub shoulders with the Oilers every other day, here's a little joke from Edmonton's Zach Hyman.
Any additional pressure knowing you're Canada's team now?
Well, I don't know if Toronto's cheering for us, but it's nice here Ottawa is.
He can make that joke because he used to play for the Maple Leafs, spent 6 seasons there. But in just half that time with Edmonton, he's already scored more goals, both in the regular and the postseason. In fact, there are actually 5 former Leafs playing for Edmonton right now. So for Leafs fans, seeing the Oilers succeed is a bit like logging into Facebook and seeing your ex having a good time. You're happy for them, but where were the good times when you were in the picture?
There's what your head knows, but what your heart feels. And hockey's sort of right in between there. And there are more and more fans, I think, like this now, more so in Canada, because they can't win Stanley Cups with their teams, that are saying, I'm going to cheer for players almost as much, and maybe in some cases more so, than they cheer for teams.
And let's not ignore the elephant in the room, that the last 31 years in the NHL have been an unbroken string of Canadian disappointments.
Rangers have done it here on a hot June night in New York.
But for the Flames, disbelief and disappointment.
The Cinderella Oilers fall just short.
Once again, the Stanley Cup, icon of Canada, is held by a team in the U.S.
Long before the final buzzer sounded, Canuck fans saw this one coming.
Carey Price leaves disappointed after his first Stanley Cup final appearance.
For 31 years, not since the Habs won in '93, 31 years ago, no Canadian team has won the championship. And now, all this time later, everybody wants it so bad for themselves that when some other Canadian team gets a shot at the big prize, how are fans supposed to feel about that?
It's tribalism. It's all it is. It's tribalism. And it's very hard to get somebody to all of a sudden switch allegiances. If you're a fan who lives on our side of the border, you want that drought to end, but there's an important caveat. You want it to end for your team, the team that you cheer for.
When they say they want a Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup, what they're saying is they want their team to win the Stanley Cup.
Let's start with the obvious. If you could somehow turn fan power into real hockey horsepower, the sheer emotive force of Edmonton fans alone would carry the team straight to victory. So is it any surprise we see blurbs like this one in the Edmonton Journal? The Oilers aren't Canada's team, they're Edmonton's team, and Edmonton likes it that way. Ouch. But who could blame them? Oiler history flows through 5 Stanley Cups. That's more cups than most NHL teams can claim. And this is the team of Gretzky, Messier, Curry, Coffey, and arguably the best player to play the game right now.
McDavid moves to the outside, works his way. Wow!
Connor McDavid, an Ontario boy, born in Richmond Hill, grew up in Newmarket, just outside Toronto. For many fans, he may be the only reason they need to cheer the Oilers on as Team Canada.
If you go and talk to young hockey players in any rink, any rink across Canada, and you ask, who's your favorite player? Generally, they're going to say Connor McDavid.
Obviously, we're a Canadian team. We got great Canadian fans, and it feels good to maybe unite the country. That's what sports is all about, is bringing people together.
But he is a hero to all these kids.
So let's be crystal clear here. Edmonton has a fan base, a broadly Canadian fan base, especially now that they've come all this way.
I've seen that we've been working this season, and you can just see that it's paid off.
And yes, among those fans, even those begrudging diehards who are prepared to set local allegiances aside in favor of the greater good.
I'm not really a fan as much as I just want them to win the cup.
And let's not forget, as far as Canadian teams go, the Oilers are pretty damn Canadian. Of the 23 Oilers who've had ice time so far these playoffs, 18 were born in Canada. No other team comes close to that. Winnipeg and Toronto played just 11 Canadian-born players, and Vancouver just 3. So where does that leave us? How do we feel about the Oilers being Canada's team?
I would say they are Canada's team for the average casual hockey fan. Your diehard fan, the Oilers won't be Canada's team.
Yes, it would be nice to see the cup come back to Canada, but it would be even nicer if the cup came back next season when Vancouver was in the final.
It's gonna be tough. I'm not gonna lie, but I could see them fighting. To be honest, we're gonna crush them. We're gonna crush Florida. We're Canada. We're Edmonton. We're everything.
I would like to think that everyone will put their sort of petty grievances aside, at least for a little bit, and celebrate the fact that the Stanley Cup has come home.
And if you ever have a hard time deciding which jersey to put on, just think, what a luxury it has become to even have a Canadian team in the final that we can all bicker about.